I sent my daughter to boarding school and now I regret it. They say a mother's greatest pride is her daughter. But as I sit here, holding my nose against the stench coming from my only child's room, I feel nothing but shame. The smell is unbearable, rotten, stale, like something decaying. And the worst part? It's not just her room. It's her. Let me start from the beginning. I was born and raised in a small village where we believed in discipline, respect, and home training. My mother raised me well. She taught me how to cook, clean, and carry myself with dignity. I always knew I would pass the same lessons to my daughter, Ada. But life had other plans. Ada was my only child, my miracle baby after years of barrenness. So when she was old enough, I wanted nothing but the best for her. The best education. The best future. When the opportunity came to send her to a prestigious boarding school in the city, I didn't think twice. People said it was a school for the rich, that they would train her well, that she would become a modern woman. I believed them. For 6 years, Ada lived in that school. She only came home during holidays, and even then, it was just for a few weeks. She was always busy with assignments, school trips, and friends. I convinced myself it was for the best. She is becoming a fine young woman, I told myself. She will make me proud. But now, Ada is home for good, and I don't even recognize her. Her room stinks. At first, I thought maybe she had forgotten to take out the trash. But when I checked, I almost vomited. Used menstrual pads, stuck under the bed, behind the wardrobe, even under the chairs. Who does that, Ada? I screamed. What is this? She walked in, chewing gum, scrolling on her phone like nothing was wrong. What? She asked, not even looking up. I pointed at the mess. You keep your used pads under your bed. Do you know how disgusting that is? She rolled her eyes. Oh, relax, Mom. It's just blood. I nearly fainted, and that wasn't all. This girl, my daughter, didn't know how to bathe properly. She would step into the bathroom, pour a little water on herself, rub soap in one spot, and come out smelling the same way she went in. Her clothes were always wrinkled, sometimes even worn inside out. And don't even get me started on her eating habits, chewing with her mouth open, spilling food everywhere, licking her fingers loudly. I was mortified. Ada, didn't they teach you anything in that school? I asked one day after catching her throwing her dirty underwear behind the wardrobe. She laughed. Mom, nobody cares about all these things. This is not the village. That was when it hit me. I had sent my daughter away to become a modern woman, but instead, I had raised a stranger. A girl with no home training. A girl who did not know basic hygiene. A girl I could no longer be proud of, and the worst part. It was my fault. I had left her in the hands of strangers, thinking they would raise her the way I would. But no one can raise your child better than you. Now, I have to start from the beginning, teaching my 18-year-old daughter the things she should have learned as a child. But will she even listen? Or is it too late? Mothers, learn from my mistake. Never let modernization take away your role as a parent. Because in the end, the world will not teach your child the things that truly matter. I told myself, maybe she just needs time to adjust. Maybe she'll change. But Ada didn't change. If anything, she got worse. The final straw came one afternoon when I walked past her room and caught a whiff of something so foul, I had to stop in my tracks. The stench hit me like a slap. I pushed her door open and nearly screamed. There, in the corner of the room, was a pile of dirty clothes, some damp, some dry, all mixed together in a mess of sweat, dust, and who knows what else. Plates with half-eaten food sat on the floor. But the worst part? The used sanitary pads. More of them. Not just under the bed this time, on the floor, on the window ledge, even stuffed inside an empty shoebox. I snapped. Ada. My voice shook the house. She strode in, earbuds in her ears, scrolling on her phone as usual. She barely looked up. Ada, are you mad? I shouted, pointing at the filth in her room. She frowned. Why are you shouting? Something inside me broke. I had never raised my hand against her before, but in that moment, I almost did. Ada, how can you be this dirty? You are a woman. Do you know what this means? Have I not taught you anything? She sighed, like I was the one being unreasonable. Mom, it's just a little mess. You're acting like it's the end of the world. That's when I realized she didn't even see the problem. She truly believed this was normal. I sat down, my head in my hands. How had I failed so badly? When Ada was growing up, I had always told myself that education was the most important thing. I thought, if I give her the best school, she will become a great woman. But what is education without basic discipline? Without self-respect? I looked up at my daughter, the girl I had worked so hard to give a better life. And for the first time, I asked myself, is this really a better life? I took a deep breath. Ada, sit down. She rolled her eyes but obeyed. Enough is enough. From today, things will change. You are going to learn how to be a woman. A proper woman. And I don't care how much you roll your eyes or argue, you will listen. She scoffed. Mom, I'm not a kid. No, you're not, I agreed. But you are acting like one. And if I have to treat you like one, so be it. And so, I began. I taught her how to wash her clothes properly, not just dump them in water and hope for the best. I showed her how to bathe, how to scrub behind her ears, under her arms, between her toes. I stood there like a prison warden and made sure she did it right. Every morning, I checked her clothes to make sure they were clean and properly worn. If she left the house looking untidy, she would march right back in and fix herself. When she ate, I made her sit properly, chew properly, and stop making those horrible slapping noises, and the sanitary pads. I gave her a black nylon bag and told her, every single pad you use must go in here. If I ever see another one under your bed, I will embarrass you in ways you cannot imagine. At first, she resisted. She pouted, complained, even tried to lock herself in her room. But I didn't care. I was not going to let my daughter go into the world like this. Little by little, I started to see changes. She no longer smelled when she walked past me. Her room, though not perfect, was no longer a garbage site. One day, I even caught her ironing her dress without me telling her to, and then, something surprising happened. One evening, as I was cooking, Ada walked into the kitchen and said, Mom, can I help? I almost dropped the spoon in shock. My Ada. The same Ada who once told me cooking was old-fashioned. I nodded, pretending not to make a big deal out of it. Peel those yams. She did. Without complaint. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late after all. Mothers, never leave your child's training in the hands of the world. Education is good. Success is good. But without discipline, without basic home training, all of it is useless. I learned my lesson the hard way. I just pray it's not too late for my daughter to learn hers. Change is slow. At first, I didn't think Ada would ever adjust. The tantrums, the sighs, the rolling of eyes, it felt like I was fighting a war in my own house. But I refused to back down. Then, one morning, I noticed something different. Ada came out of her room dressed neatly in a well-ironed gown. Her hair, which was usually a tangled mess, was combed and styled into a simple bun. She smelled fresh, like she had actually taken her time to bathe properly. I stared at her, shocked. Who are you, and what have you done with my daughter? She laughed, a real, genuine laugh. Mom, don't start. I tried to act normal, but inside, I was rejoicing. The real test came one weekend when my younger sister, Ifeoma, visited with her children. Ifeoma had always been the first to remind me that I had failed in raising Ada. She was the type of woman who believed home training was more important than a university degree. She had mocked me before, saying, "What's the point of sending a girl to school if she doesn't even know how to keep herself clean?" I braced myself for another round of insults, but this time, something unexpected happened. While I was in the kitchen cooking, Ifeoma called out, "Ada, come and help me with the children." Without hesitation, Ada got up. She helped carry the baby, played with the older kids, and even assisted in setting the table for dinner. Ifeoma kept stealing glances at her. Finally, she pulled me aside and whispered, "Are you sure this is your Ada? The same girl I saw last year who couldn't even sit properly." I smiled. People change. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Ada came to my room. She stood there awkwardly, as if she wanted to say something but didn't know how. I sat up. "What is it?" She hesitated, then said, "Mom, I just wanted to say, thank you." I blinked. "For what?" She sighed. "For not giving up on me." I felt a lump in my throat. "I will never give up on you, Ada. You are my only child. My pride." She nodded. "I know. And I see it now. The things you were trying to teach me. I used to think they didn't matter, but they do." She let out a small, embarrassed laugh. "Do you know I almost lost a friend because of my hygiene? My roommate in school once told me that I smelled bad. I got angry, but now I realize she was right." I pulled her into a tight hug. "It's never too late to change, my dear. The important thing is that you're learning." And she did. Weeks turned into months, and Ada became a different person. She cleaned up after herself, dressed properly, and carried herself with pride. She even started cooking small meals without me asking. The day she left for university, I watched her pack her bags neatly. No dirty clothes thrown carelessly, no crumpled dresses. I stood at the door, arms crossed. "You better not go back to your old ways once you get there." She laughed. "I won't, Mom. I promise." And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed her. Final lesson: I thought I had failed my daughter. I thought it was too late to fix her. But I learned that no child is beyond saving if you're willing to put in the effort. Mothers, don't be too quick to hand your children over to the world. Schools can teach them math and science, but only you can teach them dignity, cleanliness, and self-respect. I sent my daughter to boarding school and regretted it. But now, as I watch her walk away with her head held high, I know one thing for sure: I got my daughter back. And that, to me, is the greatest success of all. Please like this video, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content.